pagbibili ng boto. Pero yung sinasabi ko sa tao, tanggapin nyo. Parati ko sinasabi, tanggapin nyo kasi galing din naman yan sa atin. Yung pinambibili ng boto, pera din yan ng taong bayan. Pero tatanggapin mo, pero ang iboboto mo kung sino yung nasa konsensya mo.
That soundbite with Vice President Leni Robredo, a presidential aspirant, stirred discussions on vote buying. To be clear, during a forum with household helpers, Robredo said vote buying is wrong. She later on advised everyone to take the bribe money anyway as long as one votes according to one's conscience.
As expected, that did not sit well with the Commission on Elections. Spokesman James Jimenez says the act is still an election offense and should never be suggested to voters. Good evening, I'm Seon Ho.
I'm Robbie Alampay. You're watching The Big Story. Robredo just today clarified she does not in any way condone vote buying, but she was merely speaking about the true situation on the ground where enforcement against the practice remains weak.
A former Comelec official admits the problem lies with the many loopholes in the country's election laws. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro gives us a front seat to this big story.
In his visit in the provinces of Pangasinan, Benguet, and the city of Dagupan, presidential aspirant Manny Pacquiao gave out sacks of rice and personally handed 1,000 pesos bills to residents. While he describes this as an act of charity, critics says this is vote buying, one of the grounds for disqualification. Pacquiao says it's not.
Ginagawa ko na mula pa noon hanggang ngayon, magawa siguro nila pag eleksyon lang.
According to former Comelec Commissioner Louis Guia, there's a loophole in the law.
But he becomes a candidate only upon the start of the campaign period.
The official start of campaigning for national posts will be on February 8 next year. Under Section 261 of the Omnibus Election Code, vote buying is giving, promising, or offering money or anything of value to persuade someone to vote or not to vote for a candidate or party. The debate on vote buying started after Vice President Leni Robredo said on Tuesday that while vote buying was wrong, voters should accept the money and still vote according to their conscience. But in a press conference in Naga, she clarified she does not condone the act.
Hindi natin kinokondone yung vote buying. In fact, isa tayo sa matagal ng nakikipaglaban sa vote buying. Pero hinihingi natin sa ating mga otoridad na sana yung enforcement nito maging maayos.
It echoes the similarly controversial advice made by the Catholic Church officials to take the money but vote wisely. Guia says this will always be a controversial position.
For you to, pontificate and be on your high and mighty position and say, don't get that money just like that. Rather, medyo may condescension din yun eh.
Guia says vote buying in the country is rampant and only a few have been charged and disqualified. Nevertheless, Guia said the burden of punishment should really be on those who buy votes rather than those who sell them. Mobile journalist Jacob Lazaro, we are One News.
To address vote buying woes ahead of the 2022 elections, we have with us on the show NAMFREL Treasurer and Council Member Lito Averia. Welcome to The Big Story, Mr. Averia.
Yes, good evening, Roby.
Sir, kagaya nga po ng sabi natin, I mean, this is not new. Even the Catholic leadership had said this, just take the money as long as you vote according to your conscience. Now, on the other hand, yan ang sinabi ni Vice Leni Robredo. She's clarified she's not condoning it. In the meantime, other candidates are handing out cash, are handing out goods. Are any of these candidates at this point accountable for their actions and their words with regards to vote buying?
Again, let's clarify. I'm not a lawyer. Okay? But these activities, may loopholes sa batas. No? There's a loophole in the law that they become official candidates only at the start of the campaign period, or even perhaps when the Comelec issues the official list of candidates. So the candidates take advantage of this loophole. Okay? But in the eyes of many, this is already a form of vote buying, influencing the voters to vote for them.
In the meantime, sir, I guess equally important to the values and even the question of what is right or what is wrong is ano bang enforceable? Now, we're heading into elections, high-tech na magpasahan ng pera mga tao ngayon. Di, mobile phone na, wala nang pa-cash-cash. How much harder is it to monitor and to enforce rules on vote buying?
I guess it's more difficult 100-fold, no? Because then you don't have the evidence that you'd find would be electronic in nature, and that would be very difficult to collect. Unless, of course, you're able to intercept the messages, right?
So in terms of free and fair elections, what's the most that we can hope for in terms of, in terms of vote buying?
Well, again, we have to be able to define very well, the periods when they can start, when start banning these kinds of activities, whether it's passed on as a charity work, and remember, this is being done before the elections, whether it's passed on as a charity work or aid or ayuda, right? It would still form part, it would still look like vote buying and influencing the voters to vote a certain way. So there must be, we have to look at, and formulate some reform in our laws to define what exactly it is and when it is, when the period of banning the act can happen.
Okay, Mr. Averia, maraming salamat po. Lito Averia is a NAMFREL Council member. Here are other election-related stories we're watching. The Commission on Elections is planning to conduct a blended presidential debate for the 2022 elections. Comelec spokesperson James Jimenez says that traditional debates are no longer possible in this pandemic. In the new setup they're looking at, candidates could meet face-to-face, but the audience will participate online. The Comelec is still finalizing guidelines. But presidential candidate and Senator Manny Pacquiao still would favor face-to-face debates with a live audience. Pacquiao claims that he is not scared of debates. He adds that there is no reason for these to be held online. Meanwhile, Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte is demanding an apology from the Philippine Star after it published Ramon Tulfo's column speculating that she will be Bongbong Marcos' running mate to upset Senator Bongo. Duterte questioned the paper's vetting process. She said the column contains, quote, wild conjectures, lies, intrigues, and rumors. And in a teleradio interview, PDP Laban President and Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi says they are trying to persuade President Duterte to run as senator. He also hinted at a possible return to their original plan, with the president running as vice president and Senator Bongo as his running mate. Still, Cusi said they still are backing the Ghost tandem with Senator Bato de la Rosa.
These are the other big stories tonight. COVID infections continue to slide, with new active cases logging a 5-month low at just a little over 3,000. The Octa Research Group is forecasting cases to dip to 2,000 by next month. Government is expanding pediatric vaccination in the country to include those outside Metro Manila and those without pre-existing medical conditions. And an all-important Game 4 of the PBA Finals is happening right now as the Magnolia Hotshots tries to foil plans of the TNT Tropang Giga to inch closer to the crown. These big stories after the break.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Government will open pediatric COVID vaccination outside of Metro Manila in the coming days in a bid to inoculate all 12 to 17-year-olds within the year.
The local Food and Drug Administration, meanwhile, is now reviewing the emergency use authorization for some brands for their third doses and booster shots. Greg Gregorio with the details.
Almost 2 weeks after inoculation of immunocompromised minors aged 12 to 17 started, more than 18,000 teenagers in Metro Manila have already gotten their first dose. Now, the government wants to expand the vaccination drive outside NCR beginning October 29. And 4 days after, they want to expand that further to children with no medical conditions. Latest Philippine Statistics Authority data showed that the country has about 12.7 million 12 to 17-year-olds, and Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez wants to vaccinate all of them within the year. While the Health Department has yet to iron out the guidelines, the agency said children will receive Pfizer and Moderna jabs. Speaking of vaccines, the local Food and Drug Administration is now reviewing the emergency use authorization of some brands to possibly allow for the rollout of third doses and booster shots. Secretary Francisco Duque has earlier approved the Health Technology Assessment Council's recommendation that additional doses be rolled out this quarter. And without applications from brands to amend their EUA, the DOH applied for the revision instead.
Sumulat na ang DOH kahapon, no? Nag-send sila ng letter asking for a review of the EUAs for possible nga na mga third shot.
HDAC has recommended that jabs from Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Janssen, Sinovac, and Moderna be used for additional doses. But the study on the mix of vaccines is no easy feat.
Hindi kasi katulad ito nung EUA dati na halimbawa isang bakuna, di ba? So isang malaking study yon, titingnan mo. Ito, several studies na iba yung methodology, tas maliliit lang yung mga sample size.
Still, the FDA expects review results to be available in 2 weeks' time. For News 5, Greg Gregorio, we are One News.
The Philippines may get its hands on the COVID-19 pill Molnupiravir ahead of its Asian neighbors. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez has the story.
The Philippines is getting its first shipment of the COVID-19 pill Molnupiravir by next month. It's the first ever oral treatment for COVID in the world, developed by pharma company Merck. The importer Medethic says the first batch will cover 300,000 patients.
The shipment that is coming by November, and on the availability or the volume that we had placed from our supplier, that will cover around 300,000 patients.
Clinical trials showed that out of 1,200 people with mild COVID who took Molnupiravir, 81% had a negative PCR swab test by the 5th day. The brand will be called Molnuflu, and it will come in a bottle of 40 capsules with the recommended 8 capsules per day for 5 days. The importer says they will aim to make it affordable.
Perhaps we'll establish that in early November. Hopefully it will be 100 to 130 pesos per pill.
The importer said Merck or MSD submitted data that showed it was effective against different variants of COVID.
We saw that some of the results that are provided to us by MSD actually show it working with the different variants.
Because of the promising results, the FDA has also granted more hospitals and drug companies special permits to use and import the antiviral drug.
As of end of last week, meron na tayong 31 hospitals na merong compassionate special permit. 5 companies na importers and distributors.
Compassionate special permits mean only hospitals and doctors can dispense it. The Philippines is actually getting its supply ahead of many countries. Asia-Pacific nations like Indonesia, Thailand, and South Korea are scrambling to secure their supplies of Molnupiravir. Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez, we are One News.
The Octa Research Group expects that the country's new COVID-19 cases will decline to around 2,000 by the end of November. Octa Research member Professor Guido David says that daily average cases from October 20 to 26 had declined to over 4,800. He adds that cases were this low last March 12 to 18. The country's reproduction rate has also dipped to 0.52. Just today, new cases were at more than 3,200. That's the lowest yet since May. Active cases have also dipped to 50,000. More than half of adult Filipinos say that life these days is worse than last year. That's according to an SWS survey. In the survey last September 12 to 16, 57% of 1,200 respondents said their quality of life got worse. Only 13% of them thought life became better off, while 29% believe it's still the same old story.
For the big story in sports, it's official. Skipman Ryan Alonso has now officially become the Guinness World Record holder for most double under skips in 12 hours. Alonso and his team had been awaiting the announcement from the Guinness World Records body after setting a new record of 40,980 double under skips last October 2. Alonso more than doubled the previous record, all while battling cramps throughout the event. The 34-year-old only started taking jump roping seriously during the pandemic, but now he is in the record books. After winning a gold and silver medal in the recently concluded World Artistic Gymnastics Championships, gymnast Carlos Yulo is setting his sights on the 2024 Paris Olympics. Yulo said that they are looking to add the high bar, rings, and pommel horse events to his expertise by 2024. But before that, Yulo will be greeted with a jam-packed schedule next year. He is expected to see action in the 2022 Asian Games in China, the Southeast Asian Games in Vietnam, and the 51st FIG Artistic Gymnastics World Championships in Liverpool. All of these major tournaments will be part of his preparation for the Paris Games.
Nanalo po ako right now, pero hindi po ako nasa-satisfy doon kasi hindi pa naman po completely na kapag-revenge ako sa nangyari po this year sa akin. Ayun po yung nagpo-push po talaga sa akin araw-araw. Yung makabawi po sa 2024.
Time for another quick break. When we return. Is cabin fever hitting you hard? Well, how about enjoying a cabin in Baguio? The City of Pines is now allowing the fully vaccinated to enter the city. And PBA Finals action resumes as the TNT Tropang Giga hopes to inch closer to the crown. But the Magnolia Hotshots is not giving up without a fight.
Good evening. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Days before Undas, bus terminals are already swamped with travelers itching to go home for the holiday.
But with the amount of passengers, it might be difficult to observe health protocols at these terminals. Gerard De La Peña with the details.
Thousands of passengers have started to arrive at the Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange days before the All Saints Day break. Even though most cemeteries will be closed, passengers just want an escape.
Karamihan sa ating mga babayan, yun nagkaroon ng tinatawag nating revenge travel, no? Matagal din naman silang na binbin sa kanilang mga kabahayan at ito isasamantahin nila ngayon yung pagkakataon na yumahe.
Because of that, Parañaque Integrated Terminal Exchange Management expects passenger volume to reach 65,000 by Friday, an increase from current levels at 55,000 since NCR was placed under Alert Level 3. During the peak of lockdowns, traffic was only at 20,000. The management is already adding personnel and is also asking bus companies to add bus units. The MMDA is also committed to deploy additional workforce to ensure quick turnaround of buses.
So pinipinpoint na namin ngayon yung mga intersections para mabilis ang turnaround ng mga buses. Yung mga intersections na po pwede mag-clog. No? So yun, ini-inspect namin.
Terminal personnel will also check travel requirements such as negative antigen test results or SPAS registration. Booking of tickets should also be made 2 days before the trip.
Ang pangamba, hindi naman po nawawala din. Pray na lang siguro kay God.
Second time ko naman dito na sumakay. Kahit nung una ko pa, talagang maganda yung proseso sa pagkuha ng ticket.
Passengers are requested to check trip schedules and arrange ticket reservations as it is not advisable to just walk in without any confirmed ticket bookings. For News 5, Gerard De La Peña, we are One News.
Speaking of revenge travel, you might want to head up north. Baguio has reopened its doors to tourists subject to guidelines. Tourists must first create an account on visita.baguio.gov.ph at least a day before their trip. Individual registrations are limited to 2,000 at the moment. Only fully vaccinated individuals will be accepted, save for those coming from areas under ECQ, MECQ, and Alert Level 4 or 5. Unvaccinated children aged 12 to 17 must present negative swab test results within 72 hours. Those aged 11 and below may be tested upon the discretion of parents or guardians. Upon arrival, they have to head on to the city triage for screening and verification. Those with COVID symptoms will be retested and isolated regardless of vaccination status or swab test results.
Elsewhere in the world, travel restrictions are also easing. In Australia, fully vaccinated residents may now freely leave the country starting November. Outdoor travel ban is being lifted in the land down under as vaccination rates improve. Fully vaccinated citizens may also re-enter the country. For 18 months, Australians were unable to travel without a government permit. The decision also comes after Singapore is now allowing quarantine-free entry for vaccinated Australians beginning November 8th.
Another big story in sports. In the PBA, the TNT Tropang Giga will take a commanding 3-1 series lead after a convincing Game 4 victory over the Magnolia Hotshots 106-89. TNT looked solid from the get-go as they slowly built an 18-point lead by halftime. Magnolia would show some fight in them, but the Tropang Giga made some crucial stops to maintain their lead and secure the victory. With TNT now up 3-1 in the series, they will only need one win to snatch the PBA Philippine Cup title. Game 5 is set on Friday.
Was it all born out of revenge? A week after the abortion scandal of hometown cha-cha-cha actor Kim Seon Ho, Korean social media site Dispatch revealed the alleged timeline of his relationship with ex-girlfriend Choi Young-ha. From their meetup in 2019 to their breakup in 2021, Dispatch detailed the two's rocky relationship, from Young-ah being a divorcee to her alleged propensity for lying. Despite this, the actor forgave the influencer until the abortion happened in July of 2020. Quoting friends of the two, the magazine revealed that while the abortion pushed through, Seon Ho never forced his ex to commit abortion and even considered the pregnancy a blessing. Both camps have yet to comment on the Dispatch report. For News 5, MJ Marfori, we are One News.
An artist from Pasig is showing that he is the living legacy of the leader of the band, his late father. He paints his tomb with his hobbies and interests every year. Jay Valencia has been designing his old man's tomb with cigarettes, plants, basketball, and music. Jay has been doing this for 10 years now. Jay urges everybody to show their love to their parents if they still have the chance, since life is short. While it may be late already, he hopes that his father is proud of his achievements.
What a creative way to show love, ano?
Talagang inaalala mo lahat, di ba?
Oo.
Pati pag-iusin ng tatay
Nakita ko
niya.
yan, oo nga, nakita ko yan sa, nag-viral kasi yan, yung post na yan eh. Sabi ko, you know, it makes the coming holiday a little less scary. Kasi makulay.
Oo, tsaka pero reminder lang sa lahat, you have until tomorrow, pagkatapos magsasara lahat ng sementeryo, and then, but no rush pa rin kasi after November 2, pwede pa rin naman bumisita.
Oo, pero maganda yung lesson niya, no? Show your parents you love them before it's too late. So, Mommy, mahal kita. That wraps up today's big story. Catch you tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250.
Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. Mask on.
Wash hands.
And stay safe, Philippines. I'm Robbie Alampay.
And I'm Gretchen Ho. Teka lang, isasama ko yung daddy ko, baka magtampo.
Sasabihin
I love you too,
ko nga.
Daddy. We are One News. Have a good evening.